Hey guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're over on the YouTube account and I'm going to be doing kind of a 2025 newbies guide. If you're new to AFK Arena, I just want to run through everything that this game has available. And this is not the companions version. This is the classic version. But again, I want to run down and kind of break down the game itself, showing you what we have. And 5 years later, it has been kind of an incredible journey with this game itself. So let's start with the campaign. Now, this is pretty much the main part of the game. This is going to be the bread and butter, especially if you're newer to AFK Arena. Going through here is going to make a lot of progression. It is going to unlock everything else we have in Esperia to go ahead and really do. So looking in here, focusing on the formations tab. Now this was introduced a couple years ago at this point, but the formation tab, you can see there are two different tabs. There's recommended and there is popular. Now the recommended formation are going to be based on the heroes that you have. All of the comments that I get, everything that I get saying, hey, can you show us formations? It is going to be super independent or super really dependent on you and what heroes you have, what heroes you built, what heroes you focused on. This is going to make the formations, again, they are going to vary greatly depending on who you have built. If you have Draconic heroes, if you have Awakened heroes, this is going to make a really, really big difference. Now you'll notice here that the popular tab and my recommended tab are the same. For most players, this is not going to be the case. This is because I have all of the heroes in AFK Arena pretty well built, except Skyline, because it is super expensive. So in here, you'll literally drop in a formation. The auto battle, once it is unlocked, you can just go ahead and auto battle this until you win. This might mean it could be 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, depending on where you are, depending what your level is within here. Auto battle is a great feature. You can switch up and change up your formation, even use some different formation comps to really change it up. Now, staying on the campaign page, we do have fast rewards. Early game, you're going to use this probably once or twice. Really, when you get to the point of using this once or twice, or as you get further in the campaign, the fast rewards become more prevalent because when you go in here and you're using diamonds for the rewards, you can see we start getting baits, you start getting elemental cores, you do get shards out of there. We get a lot of resources out of this this tab itself for the fast rewards. That is the reason why, depending on where you are, once you hit VIP level 10, which is the cap for free to play, I'm doing this probably 2 or 3 times at least. So you get the original one, plus using diamonds twice in here makes a big difference. When you start adding it up over a multitude of days and then even months and years, the amount you get from the fast rewards is kind of crazy. Now, AFK rewards come right in this chest. You want to make sure that you do collect these on a regular basis because the AFK timer, again, will cap depending on your VIP level, making it important. Now, let's go down the right-hand side of this first, looking at our quest. Now, there are going to be dailies. The dailies do yield you additional rewards. As you can see, a lot of them are unlocked by the Field of Stars, which we'll look at in just a minute. That rolls up to the weeklies. The weeklies, of course, will be on a weekly variation, but you can see we have a lot of resources. Again, these little stars next to these items are the Field of Stars. And then the campaign going in here is going to be the primary campaign. You can see we've been pushing this. We pushed it on the live stream, but overall, this is going to yield you loot out of the towers, yield you loot out of the campaign. A lot of different places. You are going to get a lot of loot out of there. Now, looking at our bag, this is where you're going to use the items that you do acquire. You can see we have essence in here. We do have a lot of chests in here. Now, I really caution you as a newer player, if you're newer to AFK Arena, a lot of players say to save the resources till you get a little bit further, which I would probably say once you start getting stuck within the game, that can be the time when you're starting to open up some of these chests, when you're unable to make a little bit more progression, because of course, these are going to be based on where you've progressed in the campaign, where you are with the AFK rewards. It's going to make a big difference when you're opening these, exactly what to get within here. And it's also going to make a big difference depending where you are game-wise, which again, we can look at in just a little bit because there's a lot to unpackage when it comes to this game. That is why I wanted to run through and kind of break through this. As you can see, my bag is filled with all kinds of stuff that we're not going to get into in this video because there is a lot, but popping open those rare stones, these are going to be super important early game. Even looking at the elite stones, another thing that is going to be very, very important because it gives you access to the heroes within AFK Arena, making it really imperative. Now, the mail, you're going to pick this up on a regular basis. Sometimes there's messages in here. Sometimes you get some loot, some codes, things like that. And overall, if you're newer to AFK Arena, you want to fill up your friends list and you want to have active friends. Now, if you have friends in here, you can see Lazarus, Lith Santa is online right now. It gives you a time rate over here on the side, and you can see that some of the players have been offline for a certain amount of time. Now, short term, this is a place that you can borrow heroes. You can see right here from Mesmer or Sour Haze that we did borrow Skyland. Now, overall, within the short term that you can borrow these heroes, you borrow them for 7 days. You can use them for a ton of different things, but this is the place that is going to keep you from having to build it yourself. So when you start looking at some of our Awakened heroes, some of our really expensive heroes to build, borrowing heroes like Athelia very early will make a big difference in progression, being able to use the hero for 1 or 2 game modes, because the damage some of these heroes like Athelia and Liberta put out are super imperative. Those are heroes you want to borrow early. It's going to make a big difference. And then, of course, we have the Garrison tab. This is dimensional heroes. This is where you can see we have Rimuru, there's Shuna, we have Rem, we have Amelia. All of the questions that I get, and I do get them almost every single day when it comes to YouTube. Where do we get the heroes? Is Rem coming back? Is there going to be a crossover with Joker? They're all available in the Garrison tab. You do have to go through and you have to give up your resources to get these dimensional stones. The dimensional stones are going to allow you to recruit the heroes that you want down here from the dimensionals, making it very, very imperative. And honestly, when you're coming in here again earlier AFK Arena, getting a copy of Rem right here will be a driving force. Some people say Amelia. Some of the new heroes, even some players are running Rendell instead of there, or Randy instead of running Rem, which you could do, again, thinking early AFK Arena. Looking at the heroes, now there are 4 primary factions. We have Lightbearers, Maulers, Wilders, and Graveborn. Now, what we're talking about, the hero that a lot of players are throwing in the wish list is Rendell or Randy, but they're using him to push through the campaign really fast, and we have seen players use him. We have also seen players use Rem, which means they're progressing about 4 or 5 days. They're in chapter 30 already. Just because, again, the campaign gets easier, the power creep stays the exact same in the campaign, while the heroes get a lot stronger, and they do exponentially get stronger as the newer heroes come and are released. A lot of the older heroes, unfortunately, don't have any utility at this point, making it a really big difference. Now, again, once you get to the point of unlocking the Solemn Vow, you want to find a mentor. I'm mentored right here with Enchanted, so I am Enchanted's mentor. It gives him the ability not only to get additional quests, but he can also borrow heroes. This, again, is another place, early game AFK Arena, when you start building it out, you want to make sure that you're borrowing heroes and you're borrowing them on a regular basis. So let's hop over, guys, and look at the Dark Forest. Like I said, with this game, there is a lot. You might not be at a point where everything is unlocked, but once you get there, trust me, it will continue adding stuff. First thing we unlock, I believe, is the King's Tower. So going in here, originally you will just have one single King's Tower. This is going to be one of the biggest income sources for really 2 things. Number 1 being the hero essence. This is required to gain levels on your heroes. It is going to be imperative. There is still a very, very strong essence wall when you're building out these heroes. The second one is going to be the diamonds. Now, with the diamonds, you can do summons, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. You could also use the Stargazer, I believe, when you hit chapter 16, but diamonds are going to be imperative early game to do your summons. And then, of course, the essence is going to be required to actually go ahead and build those heroes up in their entirety. Now, you get to a point, I believe, earlier, AFK Arena, you do unlock the Arena of Heroes. The LC actually comes a little bit later, but you can see the arena, we're doing incredibly well in here. The Legends Challenger comes a little bit later, and then, of course, the LC tournament comes later. Treasure Scramble way down the road, depending on your progression. Now, Bounty Board, this is another area where earlier game, I don't find it super beneficial to refresh this early, especially when you have a very low level. Once you get to level 8, can be beneficial to refresh it. A lot of times you'll get to a point where gold is no longer an issue for players, meaning that you're looking for a lot more resources, you're looking for a lot more of your essence, different things in here. Then, of course, the team bounties, you can see, got some more gold in here. This one you cannot refresh, so it doesn't make a difference in this one. Just come in and fill this up as you can. Now, the Arcane Labyrinth, this is another place where very early you're not going to have, or you're going to have the Arcane Labyrinth and not the Dismal Maze. This is a place you want to run forever because you still get resources in here. And I'll show you in a little bit when we hit up the shop, there is a very, very important reason why we're running the labyrinth, including getting heroes, but also getting all the resources you need to really build anybody else. Now, once you get to the point of unlocking the peaks of time, this is another part that you want to push everything in here. When you think of progression, the game of AFK Arena is really about the consistent and constant progression through the game itself. So going through the historic adventures, you'll unlock these original or older peaks of time, which are the Wandering Balloon. Trials of God are going to yield you class-specific artifacts, which are not really used anymore. You can come in here, you can get them. You might use them a little bit, but essentially they were replaced by collections. And then, of course, Forest Mania and Shadow Invasion, that is going to give you access to a lot of different loot. It's mini games really that are in there, but looking at Voyage of Wonder, this will only be up at certain times. We have a Misty Valley in here. We also do have some adventures that are up in here. And again, there are times you can see this ends in 4 days. The other one ends in 2. When they are gone, they are gone. Legendary epics are going to come way down the road. But these, again, are just peaks of time, very similar to what we've seen with the Voyage of Wonder, with the peaks of time. They're just adventures that you kind of run through. Now, the Thrilling Voyage, this is another part that is going to be super imperative when it comes to building up your beasts. This is going to be a place you do get a lot of resources out of here for generation, but going through all of these kind of one by one, and I believe you still get 80 trials or 80 attempts every time you go through here. When you're going through here, you are going to get diamonds on every single mode that you finish. So again, as you're going through the Hunter's Notes, the Fantastic Beasts, every stage you complete in here is going to yield you a lot of resources. Resource generation in this game is huge. Then, of course, the Temporal Rift. This is the point where it's going to get a lot more difficult to get through. This is a lot more of a challenging part of AFK Arena. It requires you to have a multitude of time. So again, earlier mode, you might be able to run through a couple floors in here, but any progression you can make in here is really going to have a big impact. Now, simplified with the Temporal Rift, Temporal Beacon, the only thing you're going to build Trade Enhancer. If you're a endgame player like I am, if you're very new and just unlocked the Temporal Rift, it's going to be Trade Enhancer and only Trade Enhancer. There's not enough resources to build it up any higher and not really any reason to build it up any further. Now, the award swap, this is going to be the place that I want you to focus on your Stargazer Scrolls and your Time Emblems. There is never a point, even looking at my account, that you're not going to need Awakened Heroes, Celestials, and Hypos. That is where they are all going to come in. And as we get over to Ranhorn, we'll take a look at them. But that is going to be what you're going to buy in the entirety. Looking at your Time Emblems and, of course, your Stargazer Scrolls within this game mode. Guys, that's going to do it for the Dark Forest overall, the Abyssal Expedition. Don't even want to open Pandora's box. As it sits right now, majority of the time, it's down. Right now, we do have an event that's going on, but it is almost completed. But again, that is going to be something much, much further down the road. So looking at Ranhorn, let's just start from the bottom in here. Wall of Legends is just going to yield you diamonds. We do have the Rickety Cart. This is something that you're going to use to retire and reset heroes, but ultimately you're not really going to use this for a ton of AFK Arena. Even reverting or resetting heroes, replacing heroes, again, it is something that you would see probably far down the road, but as it sits right now, you're not going to use this for an incredible amount of time. And a lot of players that are free to play or newer to AFK Arena will never really use the Rickety Cart for what it was intended for. Beast Grounds. Let's talk about Beast for a minute. So when it comes to building out the beast, we have right here the Slumbering Seal, we have the Owl, we have the Talisman, we have Panda Dumpty. A couple of these in here are going to be your big focus. Slumbering Seal, of course, is going to be a huge priority. Same with Panda Dumpty, going to be another big priority. And the Owl, if you started and really built them in here, that would really help and really start you off right. Now, when it comes to baits, they are very important because when you start getting into multiple formations, once you get past the 1 formation, start getting into 2, 3, 4 formations, you will have beasts and you will have to use them. Now, many, many years ago, many patches ago, they released this beast resonance, meaning that when you are leveling up beasts, and I believe the first one is level 6, might be 3, it might be 6, but you'll get to a point where you want to build up the beast and you want to build them up much higher. Beast Resonance gives every single beast the exact same. You can see I am Resonance level 18, which means they are all on level 18. You can build them up. Now, level 18, of course, is probably going to take for most players a year plus to build up, maybe even longer, depending on how much you're putting into AFK Arena. But again, If you're focusing on the seal, focusing on the panda, focusing on the owl, all three of those are going to do pretty well, and they really, really do very successful within AFK Arena. Getting into the store. This is another place where there is a ton of stuff to buy. Like I said, content wise with AFK Arena, there is a ton. Big thing you want to focus on, and really the things you want to focus on is number one, anything you buy with gold. So looking at the hero essence, this is bought with gold. Your shards are bought with gold. Also, your po coins are bought with gold. Those three are going to be the priority with gold. If you need primordial or amplifying emblems like you see right here, these are also purchased with gold. As a newer player, you're going to buy these every single time. These 4 items, once you have them or once you do get them unlocked, you are going to buy them. Now, the last one is going to be the time emblem. Now, this again, I believe isn't unlocked till 16-1, but there will get to a point where you're going to need these. And if you're not buying them on a regular basis, you're going to be missing out on them for an incredible amount of time. If you want an opportunity to build the strongest heroes within an AFK Arena, it does come with the time emblems themselves. And then, of course, in here, I do buy the arcane staffs. But again, Ghoulish Gallery, not going to worry about that. That is so incredibly complex. Now, the Dream Store, this is unlocked once you get to the point of running different game modes. We have the Cursed Realm, Nightmare Corridor, which we'll look at in just a minute. But looking at the heroes we have up here, not really anyone worth buying Fragmented or buying the pieces of if you're going through here and doing all of your quests. But overall, if you get 1 copy of the twins, that would probably be the only one that I would do. Getting additional copies of there, I wouldn't at all. But again, we're looking for time emblems in here. We're looking for Stargazer cards, your time emblem Stargazer, and then insignias, Draconic insignias, and then Draconic scrolls we'll look at in just a minute. Guild Store, the exact same. So again, if you're newer to AFK Arena, you really want to build out, and honestly, I'm thinking newer game, the Draconic insignias, and of course, the time emblems, you do want to get on a regular basis. You want to make sure, again, you're picking these up. When it comes to gear, when it comes to tier stones, when it comes to everything else within the Guild Store itself, I really wouldn't get. The reason being, gear will come with time, tier stones will come with time. As you continue to open up and unlock the Field of Stars, we'll look at in just a minute, it will come with time overall. Then we have Hilduin and we have Eugene. Now, out of these two, utility-wise, I would probably build up Hilduin all the way up to Ascended with 1 star, getting the copies in here. And then I would go back and build Eugene. By the time you get Hilduin, Hilduin is a lot more of a support hero, even though he is a mage. Eugene does require a pretty big build to be effective. And again, Hilduin would be my first one looking at over Eugene. Now, the barracks, this is a place you want to focus on these elite stones. You can see right here, we bought all of these elite stones out. If you get to the point where you're realizing that you have more hero coin than what you're buying out here, you can also go down here when you get Twisted Essence or you get the ability within the Elder Tree, which again, we'll look at in just a minute. Now, Labyrinth coins, this is the reason why through the Arcane Labyrinth, through the Dismal Maze, you want to be running this every single day. Now, the heroes, we are not going to buy in our entirety. Looking down here, this is the way to build out a lot of heroes. We're not going to buy the essence. We are not going to buy any of the shards because remember, essence, Pocoin, shards, we can get them for gold. We want to use our gold for there. We are looking at really building out and buying out some of these red chests, buying out some of these space emblems, and really focusing on some of the later game items. But again, it's because I have everything unlocked in here, it's a little bit more difficult to show you all the other heroes that used to be in these places with these space emblems. This used to be heroes themselves. I believe Joan was in here. I believe Arthur was in here. There's a few heroes in here, which I believe Arthur was right here. And again, it's been years since we've had them. King Arthur was actually the first dimensional hero we ever seen. Now we have a ton of them in there, but overall, not really dimensional heroes worth building at this point in AFK Arena, just because we're seeing new heroes every 2 weeks. Now, Challenger Store, this is another one. You can see that we have all of the heroes bought out. This was, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Mortis and Ulna, I think, was in here. I think Zolrath was in here. Orthos was in here. Athalia was in here. And I'm thinking if this was I think Zolrath might have been here. The last one, I'm drawing a blank. I think it's the original version of Aziz was here. Zolrath was here. And then, of course, down here, you can see these turn to red chests, but these were more dimensional heroes. Mulan was in here. I believe Merlin was in here. A couple other heroes, Leonardo da Vinci might have been in here as well, but there has been a few. Now, looking at this game mode itself, the only one to really get, I would say Mortis getting one copy and then building out Alna. Rest of the heroes, no requirement at all to get any longer because you don't need them for the Ghoulish Gallery any longer. You don't need the one copy, unlock it. It is unlocked permanently in its entirety. Now, the Noble Tavern, this is the bread and butter. So when you come in the Noble Tavern, this is where you're going to pick up and get all of your elite heroes. This is where you're going to do your summons for your Celestials, your Hypos, your Awakened heroes. Everything is going to come in this game mode. Now, earlier game, if you're newer to AFK Arena, you are going to use this 2,700 diamonds. This is the place that is going to get heroes after you fill out and build out the wish list. Now, I do have a video down in the guide section that does break down the wish list in the entirety. So I'm not going to go through here and break it down. But honestly, when you start looking at the wish list and thinking of, let's start at the bottom here. These are older heroes in AFK Arena. You can see most of these, not a lot of utility. Then we get up towards the top. So looking even with all of the factions in the top heroes, looking at like in here, with Jerome in here, we have Palmer in here, we have Scarlet in here. Most of the newer heroes to AFK Arena are going to be the heroes, are going to be the priority ones within the wish list. And you're going to see that rings true for a majority of these tier lists. Even looking here, we have Goran, we have Villanelle, we have Vika, we have Naruko, we have Crescio, we even do have Salakai. A lot of the heroes, again, when you start coming down the tier list, not really a need to build at all because these new support heroes have a much higher power level, have a much higher utility level. That is really where you want to build them. Now, Stargazer, let's talk about this for a minute. So when it comes to the Stargazer itself, this is going to be the place once you do get to the towers and once you unlock the faction towers itself. So looking back where we were with the King's Tower, we have 4 faction towers. We have the Tower of Light, Bruto Citadel, World Tree, and then we have the Forsaken Necropolis. Also the 2 additional, the Celestial Sanctum and the Infernal Fortress. When you get to the point of getting cards out of these faction towers, not the King's Tower in the middle, but the faction towers around the outside, that is the point when you want to start using your Stargazer scrolls to actually do summons in the Stargazer itself. As it sits today, the #1 priority in here is going to be Liberta. If you're unfamiliar, it is a Celestial hero. It is a hero that is actually right here. This is going to be your #1 hero summon that you want to start with, that you're going to summon for a considerable amount of time. If you're newer to AFK Arena, if you're pay to win, if you're getting Stargazer scrolls and diamonds, this is the hero that you want to build. This is the hero you're going to build up to Ascended with 1 star. Absolutely want to build. Now, Temple of Time, this very similar. This is going to use only the time emblems that we kind of looked at. If you're new to AFK Arena, the Awakened version of Athalia is going to be the first one that you're going to build. And again, you want to build these heroes up to Ascended with 1 star. So going through there, that really sums up in very simplified a Noble Tavern. Now, Resonating Crystal. This is where you're going to start exchanging all of your heroes. This is where you're going to put heroes essentially in the Resonating Crystal. They are going to get the same level of the Resonating Crystal once you hit level 240. You have to hit level 240 to unlock the Resonating Crystal itself. Then you just level up the crystal instead of leveling up the individual heroes. When you think of the heroes themselves, you're going to, until you hit level 240, level up the individualized heroes right here. As you can see, mine now says Resonating Crystal because I've already hit 240. I've already unlocked the Resonating Crystal, but this is the place that you are going to build up the heroes in their entirety until they hit 240. Then, of course, Dali, I believe, says what's going on with the crystal. It unlocks the crystal from there forward, level 240. You level up the Resonating Crystal itself. Now, on Companions, it is level 360 from my understanding. Not there yet, but we are getting there. But yes, crystal level will unlock right here. Temple of Ascension, this is going to be all of your Ascended heroes. And looking again, kind of a basic, you have an elite, or excuse me, a rare hero, plus 2 copies of the rare hero will give you, or 1 rare hero. Adding in a second one will give you an Elite Plus. So it's kind of rolls up from there because then, of course, if I have one of those, so we have 2 Elite Plus right here is going to give me, or excuse me, 2 Rare Plus. It is going to give me an Elite and so on and so forth, because then the elite hero combined with another elite is going to give me an elite plus, and so on and so forth. So it does require several heroes. The only big one is when you're building out a hero, and let's see if I have any copies in here. But when you're building out a hero, let's say for instance right here with Mishka, once you do get to the point of building her up, you're going to require right here 2 elite plus heroes. And then also once you have the hero at mythic plus, which is going to be, that's mythic right here, it does require additional elite plus copies of the same hero at this level. And then also once you go to mythic plus to ascended, you need 4 copies of the hero or 2 of these elite plus. I don't know if I have anyone that is at mythic plus right now. There we go, Wukong. So for instance, right here with Wukong, it is requiring 2 additional elite plus copies of Wukong, which is 4 copies itself. And then of course, to add 1 star on there, you have to have an additional copy of the hero itself. So for instance, right here, if we wanted to add another star, I need another elite plus copy of Demia, which means 2 additional copies of Demia to build her out in the entirety. Library is a part that you're going to have the Field of Stars. The Elder Tree is the first thing that unlocks. So in here, you have the ability to not level up specific heroes, but to level up a tree itself, which is a specific class. So if we look right here in the substance or the support class, you can see we have every single hero that I have within AFK Arena falling within here. So again, instead of leveling up and building up each individual hero, I will build up the classification of the hero, and you can see down here adds HP, attack, defense, dodge, a couple other stats, including 3 unique abilities that are all level 16 based on where we have these heroes built. This is something for most players you are never going to max out in the entirety. It takes a crazy amount of essence and a crazy amount of time to build it up, but it does have a really, really big impact. If you look again, some of the guide sections, it really shows you how to go through here, how to build up the Elder Tree and how to prioritize building it. But again, we'll save that for another video. Field of Stars, this is the place where you get bonuses for everything you do in AFK Arena. This is the place you want to unlock, and you want to unlock these stars as you're making progression as fast as possible, because essentially it is going to give you more resources for the rest of the game, whether they're coming out of your dailies, your weeklies, if they're coming from AFK rewards. This is the place you want to level up these stars in the Field of Stars as soon as possible, because like I said, they're giving you more resources for the entire game itself. Very cool. Now, gear resonance is again another part that is not going to come for a long time. Once you get to a certain and owning a certain amount of tier pieces, even going back to tier 1 gear, once you own a certain amount of pieces, they will allow you to actually equip gear on all of your heroes, which again makes the owning of gear within the store really not as prevalent, because you do get a lot of free gear and you get the gear resonance to level it up. Now, the Dragon Isle, this is going to be a very quick one in here. This gives you the ability to actually recruit Draconic heroes, which is a very new, I mean, the newest faction that we've seen to AFK Arena, and overall, not a crazy amount of utility within these heroes itself. And then we have kind of the highborn Draconic heroes, which are still stupid expensive, honestly. When it comes to building these out, they are incredibly difficult, incredibly expensive, and it's something that definitely needs to be adjusted. But if you're looking to use it because you have some of these element or Draconic insignias, build out land. Land is going to be the only one, especially with lower copies, that can work. The rest of them, not really any utility at all. And in here, do not use diamonds. This is a place that all of the summons in here do run 5,000 diamonds. So it's super expensive to actually build out the Draconic heroes. I would not use my diamonds. Me personally, I just use the scrolls that we get. Even here, just kind of stockading till we get our new hero, but using the scrolls in their entirety, saving all the diamonds for our Celestials, our Hypos, and our Awakened heroes. And within the Dragon Heart Temple, like I said, I would build out land. Even looking here at the few we have, the 4 Highborns that we have, land would be the only one really worth focusing on and building out, just because they take so much time. So when it comes to the Oaken and you unlock this is where the Poke Coins come in. As you can see right here, we have 39,000 Poke Coins. This is going to allow you to build the furniture aspect of heroes themselves. Even within here, here is our smithy. Feel free to look around. You drop heroes in your wish list. Again, we have some furniture wish list down below. A little bit outdated, so I might have to look at those pretty soon. But overall, just building out heroes with the furniture. And of course, based on priority, looking at Liberta, thinking of the awakened version of Athalia, a lot of your primary 4 faction heroes, getting and building out their furniture higher is going to make a big difference. And of course, when it comes to stats, it makes a big difference on your damage dealers. Now, of course, when it comes to tasks, this hasn't been updated, I believe, since this game mode was released. Finished them really quick, even looking and putting heroes into the tower themselves. Very basic. You just go in here, you really go in, looking at your recommended heroes, you put them in there. Upgrade, you're not going to do. Storeroom, you're usually not going to do. Maybe if you have a couple pieces in here, like I have a few in here for land, but overall, not going to use it quite as much until you get a little bit further. Then we get into the guild mode. This is the part. Since the last 5 years, the guild hunt has never been updated. This is still the same boss that we had day 1 of AFK Arena. You go in here, you challenge it, depending on who you borrowed. If you borrowed Liberta, if you borrowed that awakened version of Athalia from your friends list, you can go ahead and use those heroes in here earlier game. For me, you get to the point where you can just sweep it. You're doing the max amount of damage. Hellscape, this is something that is going to change and change all the time. Your comps are going to change. Your formations are going to change. Everything's going to change with the iterations. And I have to go in here and farm. We have 9 hours left to actually get a much higher score than where we are at. But you'll notice there are a lot of bosses. Even looking at the next boss, this again goes kind of on rotation. Same with the Nightmare Corridor. We do see a different formation or a different dashboard. Look at all of the bosses that they have the ability to put into the guild bosses, but as it sits right now, unfortunately, we are not seeing them being brought in the rotation. I think they need to do something again with those guild bosses, absolutely, to really break that down. Again, when you get to the Cursed Realm Nightmare Corridor, there's a ton of guides out there. There's a ton of stuff out there to really showcase and show you kind of where we are in the game. Now, when it comes to heroes, just want to break these down before we're done. I know it's a long video, and I knew it would be just kind of, again, the general look around to what Esperia brings. But looking at a hero itself, you really have a couple different key aspects. Number one, the signature item, which is this part. I still remember when the signature items were released. This used to say coming soon, which was pretty cool to see. But yep, signature items are right here. On your right side, you do have your collections or your artifacts or your class-specific artifacts. This is going to make a big difference on where you're building it and how you're building the hero. Now, on the bottom of this, we do have the engraving. This, again, is going to come much later with some shards, going to come later with some elemental cores. This, of course, is a very complex system within AFK Arena. How you build the heroes out, how much you invest in them, does make a difference on the hero and what the hero is really used for. Then the inn is what provides the furniture we just look like in that whale inn or the giant whale that we just seen. But this is where the furniture is actually housed on the individual hero itself. And you can see going through here, there are a lot of heroes that are built up. Again, been playing AFK Arena for 5 years. And then the final one, guys, down here in the bottom right, there is a chat. Don't use it. It's a very, very toxic place to look at. I don't use it, and I haven't used it in, I have no clue when, probably 5 years ago. But let's look at the left side real quick, and then we'll be done. So this is going to be all of your special things that are going on within AFK Arena. On the right side, these are always going to stay the same. They're going to stay kind of stationary. But over here, you can see we have our Merchants tab. This is if you're looking to purchase anything within AFK Arena. This is going to be the spot. And just real quick shout out, guys, if you look at the monthly cards, these are very, very good purchases. Then there are also 2 packs that show up in here, an Advancement pack and a Climbers pack. Those are very good. I believe they're $20 each. The rest of it, kind of give or take, depending if you're looking in here to build out specific things. Most of this, most players don't really focus on. Only other place that's really kind of worth it is the Noble Society if you're buying it. Monthly cards, Noble Society, those Adventure pack, and also that Climber pack makes a big difference when you're purchasing this. Now, events. This game has a ton of events that are going on. We got the Vault of Time, which again is the Abyssal Expedition. We have the new beast, which of course is the newest beast that we have gotten in here, but that is, I'm forgetting the game mode that we looked at over here, which is the Thrilling Voyage. It is the Thrilling Voyage. Temporal Feedback takes you back to the Temporal Rift. Even the Blessing Abound, that is just a free hero. Bountiful Bounties is just right in the bounty board. And then, of course, these are the two that we've seen within the other section right here, the Voyage of Wonder. So all of them kind of built in there. Engraving Rewind, this pops up at least once a year. Wishfinder, this is just an event that is going to be, again, kind of short-lived. You go through, you find where the feathers are. Dimensional Exchange, this is up when we get new dimensional heroes. You have essentially 60 days to exchange for the heroes themselves. Even here, you can see we have Sheltier that is up. And then limited offers, this is more of the merchant tab. This is more of the promotional that you can go in here and buy bundles if you wanted to. Sorry guys, I know it's a pretty long video. Just wanted to break down Esperia. Hopefully I answered some of the questions that I've been getting from all of the new players to AFK Arena. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.